And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judd, back once again with another instalment of my ultimate New 52 reading guide video series. So just to let you know what this is, I have over the last few years read the entire DC New 52 in single issues. That was 3,646 issues. And I've used that to create the internet's most comprehensive map and infographic of the entire New 52. And this series is a result of that. Today is video 5.6, The Batman Family Concluded. So this is the last video in my huge deep dive into the Batman family. Before we go any further, even if you know what the New 52 is, or you only want to read one particular character I'm going to mention, you really need to watch the introduction video, video 0.0. I'd also recommend you actually watch the rest of the Batman family of videos, so 5.1 all the way up to this video today, which is 5.6. That's because there's lots of things that I would have covered by now, like different crossovers, different tie-ins, different terms like the convergence line and P-readers and all that sort of stuff. It's going to be quite complicated jumping in just at video 5.6. Feel free to if you want to, but I would prefer it and I would recommend that what you actually do is go and watch the introduction video. Now, the link to that is in the description below. Anyway, with no further ado, let's just dive into it. Here is the ultimate New 52 reading guide. And today's episode is 5.6, concluding the Bat family. It's going to be a slightly longer than usual episode, covering lots of different series because there's quite a lot of sort of messy one-shots and short series to cover today. But I really wanted to finish the Batman part of this video series now. So let's zoom in. Here we have the Flashpoint event, which we discussed in video 1.1. And if we move up, here we've got the Batman stuff. So north of the Flashpoint event are the Batman circles, all in black. And today we're going to start off here with Birds of Prey. This is to the west or to the left of the main Batman line, and we're going to start off with the series Birds of Prey. This series is Birds of Prey 2011 from 2014. There have been several notable Birds of Prey series so far, including an excellent run by Gail Simone from the early 2000s. And there was a new movie coming out in 2020 starring the team. Anyway, this one is volume 3, that's volume with a big V. This trade collection here is trade collection 1 called Trouble in Mind. That's Trouble in Mind, and it contains issues 1 to 7. Let's follow this lineup. Again, I really hope you're following along at home or you've got your own printout of this. And then you've got trade collection 2, Your Kiss Might Kill, which contains issues 0 and issues 8 to 12. Issue 9 is of course the obligatory tie-in to crossover 1, Night of the Owls, but as usual works as a standalone and isn't very good. Let's continue up, and we have here volume 3, that's a volume with a small v of course, so trade collection 3 called A Clash of Daggers, and that contains issues 13 to 17 and Batgirl Annual 1 from the Batgirl series we talked about last time. There's no Death of the Family crossover here. Continuing on up and across from this line and quite away, here we have Birds of Prey Volume 4. This contains issues 18 to 26 and also Talon issue 9. Don't worry, this is a tie-in, and this trade collection 4, The Cruelest Cut, contains everything you need to understand that tie-in. I have grouped it here in the map next to Talon in case you're interested in crossing over and experiencing that in a more thematic sort of way. Following that line up, here we have Birds of Prey Trade Collection 5, which is called Soul Crisis. That's S-O-U-L Crisis. This contains issues 25 to 34 and the Birds of Prey Futures End one-shot. The reason issue 25 is here, as opposed to in volume 4, is because it's part of the crossover 0 year, which is crossover 4. And then issue 26 was back in the last volume we looked at, The Cruelest Cut. And then issues 27 to 28 are again in this volume, and that's part of crossover 5 Gothtopia. As I mentioned before, I prefer the reading order you actually get in the trade collections. So if you are reading in single issues, I'd recommend you read it in the order that I've just said. So what that means is that in volume 4 here, what you're looking at reading is issues 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 and 26, and also Talon 9. And then if you are actually moving on to volume 5, it's issue 25 and then 27 onwards. As I mentioned in video 5.2, Gothtopia is a false crossover because criminally it's not collected in its own event book. Hope that all makes sense. It's quite a lot and it's a bit confusing. But like I said, there's quite a lot to cover here. So let's follow this up. You'll notice this is the final volume of Birds of Prey, but a line continues from it because it has got a sequel. So let's go past the convergence line. And this takes us into that weird part of the DC universe, which is the DCU era. That's DCYOU. And this is where we find the best spot to read Black Canary from 2015 to 2016. I was not a fan of this series at all. It was a really weird portrayal of Dinah Lance and had a strange, goofy story arc that I could not get on board with. But anyway, if you're interested, this is Trade Collection 1 called Kicking and Screaming, contains issues 1 to 7. And then right here at the end of it, we've got Trade Collection 2, which was called New Killer Star. It contains issues 8 to 12 and for some reason Gotham Academy 17. That's just a tie-in. It's collected here. It's easy to follow. Unfortunately, on the map, this isn't anywhere near Gotham Academy, but there was no way of arranging it otherwise. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Okay, let's scroll back down and let's start somewhere else. All right. We haven't as yet covered Catwoman, so let's do that now. So Catwoman was a series from 2011 to 2016, and I believe this is volume with a big V3. But I might be wrong. It's a bit difficult to get a handle on it, even using online sources. But anyway, the cover you're looking at here with this horrible sexualized image is Volume 1, The Game. It was written by Judd Winnick and contains issues 1 to 6. I really enjoyed this, although critically it wasn't well received. There were multiple complaints that actually it was too sexualized and violent, and from the cover it's hard to dispute that. But personally, I felt the contents were great. In fact, I liked it so much that I had it made into a hardcover and then designed a custom dust jacket for it. And I designed that myself. I'll put a link to that in the description below. In fact, for various reasons, I did it twice, so I'll link to both videos below. Continuing on up, we have Catwoman Trade Collection 2 called The Dollhouse. This is the second arc written by Winnick, and it's pretty good. It contains issues 7 to 12, and it's the one that I may even go back to in the future to reconsider whether I should actually get it custom bound into a hardcover for inclusion in my permanent collection or not. One of the issues here is, of course, issue 9, which is part of crossover One Night of the Owls, and as always, not very good and easy to ignore. Let's continue that line up, and we end up here with Trade Collection number 3, which is called Death of the Family, like many of the other third collections in the Batman family. So at this point, Winnick has left and is replaced by Ann Nocenti. I'm not going to lie, I'm not a fan of her work in general, and this is no different. This trade collection is like many of the third volumes of the Bat family. It's called Death of the Family. It contains its own issues, and it contains issues 13 to 18 and issue 0. And it's unfortunately, this one's pretty forgettable. In fact, it's so stupidly incidental to the Death of the Family event that despite the name, it doesn't even bother containing the Batman finale issue 17. So really, if I was you, I would ignore it completely if you're just looking for Death of the Family issues. Let's continue on up, and here we have volume 4, which is called Gotham Underground. This contains issues 19 to 24, 26, Annual 1, and Batman Dark Knight issue 23.4, which is the Joker's Daughter issue. As you might have noticed, this does not collect issue 25. Moving past the Forever Evil line, let's go up here, and we have Catwoman Trade Collection 5, which is called Race of Thieves. This collects issue 25 and also issues 27 to 34 and the Future's End one-shot. To be honest, the whole volume is just filler issues, and thankfully at this point, Ann Nocenti finally leaves and is replaced by Genevieve Valentine. She writes an amazing, tightly contained 10-issue run that comprises the next two collections. So let's look at the next two collections here. We have Collection 6, which is called Keeper of the Castle. This contains issues 35 to 40 and Annual 2. This marks a sudden new era in the series with a marked shift in tone, and it marks the advent of a new and improved Selina Kyle. Imagine Catwoman crossed with The Godfather and you'll sort of be there. I'll be honest, whilst the writing is great, one of the reasons I have a soft spot for these two volumes is because of the excellent cover art by Jay Lee for these, especially for the issues in this collection. So if you're reading Volume 6, Keeper of the Castle, you really need to cross the convergence line and straight away read Volume 7, which is called Inheritance. It continues this dark crime noir storyline from issues 41 to 46 and essentially totally ignores the convergence line. And as I said, both this and the previous volume comprise a singular story arc. If you get one, you need to get both. I have both and they're brilliant. That takes us to the end of Catwoman. Unfortunately, Genevieve Valentine leaves and we're stuck here with Frank Thierry writing volume 8, Run Like Hell, which contains issues 47 to 52. This story has very little to do with the noir and edgy arc that precedes it and is ultimately a bit shallow and a bit boring in my opinion. Sorry guys. Let's zoom back a bit, but the next volume that I want to cover is actually this random story here. So if you go near actually Batman Endgame on the map, just next to it, up in the corner, is this weird one-shot little series. This is called Arkham Manor. It ran from 2014 to 15. It's a 6-issue miniseries that takes place just before the convergence line. And in terms of Bat Family comics, this means it takes place just before and parallel to the events of Crossover 5 Endgame. In fact, this volume also contains an Arkham Manor Endgame one-shot that is collected in the Endgame Collected Edition. In terms of that, the Arkham Manor miniseries does provide a bit of interesting context for the events of Endgame, but overall I find all these issues, including the one-shot, a bit of a waste of time. Alright, let's zoom out. What do we have left? Right, so on the other side of the Batman line, from where Arkham Manor was to the other side, we have Gotham Academy. Okay, Gotham Academy ran from 2014 to 2016. I'll be honest, I would be tempted to consider this as a young adult series that's out of continuity with the rest of New 52. Unfortunately, it does actually form part of Crossover 6 Robin War, so I have to keep it on the map here. Generally speaking, though, this series is very much a child-friendly, fun series that does feel very at odds with the other ones from this era. This volume we're looking at here is Volume 1, Welcome to Gotham Academy. Collects issues 1 to 6. Actually, before I move on from this, I should point out there is a Gotham Academy one-shot for Crossover Endgame, which is obviously right next to Gotham Academy Volume 1 here. This one-shot looks like this. And it's not collected in any of the Gotham Academy volumes. It's only collected in the Endgame Collected Edition event book. And as mentioned before, it's not worth tracking down. So just so you know, it's an orphaned issue, is only in the Endgame Collected Edition event book. Anyway, back to the map. So here we were looking at Volume 1, which is Welcome to Gotham Academy. Let's head up and we've got Volume 2, which is called Calamity, and that contains issues 7 to 12. And if we head up again, we've got Volume 3, which is called Yearbook. This contains issues 13 to 18, so also, yes, it includes the issue that's in Birds of Prey as well, but don't worry about that. It also includes Annual 1. Issue 13 is part of the crossover called Robin War, which we discussed before in video 5.4. Now remember, this event is essentially in the series Grayson, and you'll notice it's collected here near Grayson. But these crossovers are all kinds of useful to read. Outside the context of the rest of the event though, reading Gotham Academy and just reading the one Robin War tie-in issue, it's a bit random. You might get a bit confused. So that takes us to the end of the New 52 era, but Gotham Academy continues being published seamlessly into the DC Rebirth era. Now whilst I normally wouldn't count this, in this example I'm making a single exception, as the sequel wraps up very clearly and very quickly. So we're going to carry on from Volume 3 of Gotham Academy, and we're going to move up to a new series called Gotham Academy Second Semester. This was published from 2016 to 2017. It's still written by Becky Cloonan and Brandon Fletcher, like the preceding volume. And here, Volume 1 of Second Semester is called Welcome Back. It contains issues 1, 2, 3, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. And it moves straight on with a direct sequel, which is the end of the Gotham Academy run. This is Gotham Academy Second Semester, Volume 2. This is called The Ballad of Olive Silverlock. And that contains issues 4 and then issues 9 to 12. I know it's a bit of a weird reading order. That's how it's collected. And to be honest, if you're reading in singles, that's how I would read it as well. Ultimately, I did quite like this series, but to be honest, it's a bit too juvenile for me, as well as a bit too supernatural focus and a bit too Scooby-Doo in style and tone. However, if you have kids, this is a great gateway comic for your kids. All right, that was Gotham Academy. And that leaves only one series left to discuss in the entire Batman family of New 52 comics. That takes us to Robin War. Oh no, it doesn't. We've done Robin War. This takes us to We Are Robin. Ha! We Are Robin is set between, on the map, is between Robin, son of Batman, and Red Hood Arsenal. It's here in the map, past the convergence line. Let's look at it here. It was written from 2015 to 2016. It was written by Lee Bermejo. And this series really helps flesh out the character of someone called Duke, who goes on to be very important in the DC Rebirth era, or so I hear. We have Volume 1, which is called The Vigilante Business. That contains issues 1 to 6. And that's this volume here. And then we have Volume 2, which is called Jokers, Jokers. And that contains issues 7 to 12. Now, issue 7 is part of the crossover 6 Robin War, as I mentioned last video and the video before. And remember, that event is essentially within the series Grayson, but the crossovers are useful to read. And that's it. That's We Are Robin. It's only available in trade paperback. It is out of print. As a whole, I really like this short-lived series. It's interesting, it's well drawn, and it throws a new light on the behaviour of Alfred in Gotham after the events of Endgame. Gives you an idea of what he's been up to. Okay, so phew, that is the end of it. That is the end of the whole Batman family, ladies and gentlemen, which is a large and significant part of DC New 52. But again, it's only part of this map because this map contains every single New 52 volume. In the next video, we're going to be moving away from Batman and actually going to look at these volumes here on the right, which are the other superheroes of the New 52 era. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, please like, comment, subscribe and share more widely. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on the Bat family and this reading series in general. Have you downloaded the map? Have you printed it? Are you following along at home? Let me know in the comments below. Alternatively, tweet me at @IamThomasJudge. And as always, please support the channel by heading over to Amazon and picking up the first volume of my prose novel, No Gods or Kings. It'll cost you less than $1. It's over 200 pages of content, and if you've got Kindle Unlimited, it's already free. It's a series of interviews from a future where superpowers are real and the entire world has changed dramatically as a result. If you're interested in downloading this map and printing it off or using it yourself, that's also available on the same website as my book, which is nogodsorkings.com, and that's in the description below. So while you're there, why not pick up the first book and support the channel? Until next time, stay classy.